Guys, Matt Haycox here for another episode of No Bollocks with Matt Haycox, where we get down and dirty with our guests to talk the truth, no bollocks whatsoever. And today in the house is Elle Russ, all the way from California, sunny California. I think you're probably the most extreme time zone that I've ever done this with. And what time was it for you in California?
It's about 7:45 in the morning. So
7:45. What is it for me? Yeah, and it's 6:45 in the evening here in Dubai. So the sun rises as the sun sets. Well, listen, welcome to the show, Elle. Thanks a lot for being here. And we are going to be talking today about, quite particularly overcoming adversity, and following your dreams, following your passions, and not letting anything stand in the way. So, Elle, just give everyone listening and watching a little bit of background. You know, who are you, why you're here, and why are you qualified to be telling us all about overcoming adversity?
Well, thanks for having me. And first of all, I love the name of your show, and I love No Bollocks because I am known as a no BS person. You know, we call it bullshit here. And in fact, my nickname in college, my roommates referred to me as No Shit. They would be like, "Hey, Elle, no shit, Russ." And the reason is they're like, you don't give it out, you don't take it, you don't, right? And so I've come to learn that this is really the way to be. Part of that is having the confidence to be able to do that. And so my journey is one that people might be listening to me and go, "Oh, you seem ultra confident." And sure, I am. But along the way in life, you get your confidence and self-esteem chiseled at. It gets chipped away and you got to build it back up. And I don't think a lot of people know that it actually is within them and they can generate it. I have, I'm permanently disabled. I have a permanent ham disability that I got at the age of 22, where California said 40% of your body is disabled. And from there, I had to find a way to make a career in 1997 using my voice when there were no podcasts, YouTube, cell phones, or anything else. So I was in uncharted territory, and I have been for a very long time. This is a tough place to be. There are no benchmarks. There's no one guiding you. It's not like you go get the job at the law office, you build your way up to partner. Those are like known benchmarks. Entrepreneurship is frighteningly unknown, and you have to pave your own way. And so, listen, that can be a tough road for a lot of people.
Tell me, what were people around you saying at that time? And I try and find analogies, when people are, let's say, not directly business related, I try and find analogies to business and also try and put things into the context of how they were for me as well. So, we talk about you finding out you're disabled, got the hand issue, can't write, can't type. It's going to stand in the way of following your dreams for being a writer. Back in 2008, I was made bankrupt, and the people around me were telling me that basically that was the end of my career. It was a one strike and you're out. I wouldn't work again. My credibility would be burnt, and I couldn't do business. Now, I always say that I feel I didn't have an exciting comeback story, because it wasn't like I kind of reached rock bottom and I woke up one day, in a pile of my own sick and drinking booze, thinking, "Oh God, I've got to climb back out of here." For me, it was just a very much well, listen, that's what they say. They may be the experts, but if I listen to them, then I've got to write off my future, or I can ignore them and get on with it and find my own way. I mean, how does that relate to your situation insofar as you wanted to be a writer?
Well, at the time I didn't. So here's the thing. So I never wanted to be a writer, like ever. Okay, ever. But when I got disabled, and I didn't even want to be a writer right then. The interesting thing is that growing up as a kid in Chicago, we have a very famous comedy theater where all of the people from the famous show Saturday Night Live come from. Okay, so that kind of sketch comedy. You guys have Monty Python over the years, one of our faves. So sketch comedy. So I grew up loving it, but thinking like, that's unrealistic. I could never do it. So I went after the money, right? I'm in the corporate world and I'm killing it. Then I get disabled and I have nothing but my voice. So essentially, it was almost like the universe cutting the golden handcuffs off of my wrists, figuratively and literally. It only was like, well, I guess you have to. So then at that moment, I was like, I guess I'll go pursue my dream of acting. Okay, which I did. But then I was doing sketch comedy and in the acting, and then I'm writing sketches. Next thing you know, I keep writing and writing, years go by. I'm like, hey, why don't we blow this up into a screenplay, and so on. I kept following one thing I wanted, it led to another. I want to say that along this journey, here's the tough part. I'm like, I'm an actor. This is what I do. And then I'm starting to get into writing, and I'm doing writing, and you have this like, oh no, wait, who I am is being redefined. Wait, no, but I love this, but oh, that's over there. You have to sometimes detach from what you have declared yourself to be to everyone else. This is a confidence moment, because people can be like, yeah, you tried that, didn't work, or snide remarks. You have to be strong in these moments to be like, yeah, so I pivoted. You've been in the same job for 50 years. How's your life? Right. So, so for me, I think there were some tough pivots along the way. I put one foot in front of the other. I didn't realize it would end up, being a writer. And so the funny thing is, though, if I look back in college, I would always help. I was never into literature. I speak incorrect English grammar all the time. I use editors, but I would help people write their papers and write their essays to get into, foreign programs. And someone said to me in college, they're like, you should be a writer. And I was like, oh God, no, never, no interest. And I didn't. I was 18. I didn't have anything to say, and it wasn't an interest of mine. So I kept following the money. And interestingly enough, it seems like the world, the universe, aliens, whatever you believe, knocked me back down to a place where I could only pursue the things I loved. Because if my hands were perfect right now, I probably would have been back in the corporate world immediately. Like I would have just kept going back to where the direct money is. So in a way, and this is what I tell everyone, most of the time, gifts come wrapped in shit, man. I could not see that this was one of the biggest gifts of my life. To this day, I would go back and get re-injured. Not kidding. I would literally get re-injured. It's like the people who say they had cancer, they do it again. And you go, why? It's because of what you learn and who you become along that way. Invaluable. It was almost a lottery ticket. I would be miserable in that technical job right now. I'd probably be a partner at the firm, but I'd feel like, what's this all mean? Because while I was there, the job was so easy. I was a top earning producer at the age of 22, and my cohorts were 35 at the time. I'm bringing in $2 million a year for the company. I'm a total superstar. I had no reason to leave. So it was a really tough moment of being like, oh my God, what do I do now? And so I don't know, maybe I've gone on a little bit too there. Hopefully that answered a little bit of your question.
Well, let's talk about confidence, because confidence is something that I get a lot of messages about. From people saying, "I'd like to do X, but I don't have the confidence to do it." And I think whether it's in business, whether it's in personal life, so many people have got stories of regret that ultimately are based around lack of confidence. And I think to me, confidence, we can have, let's say, true confidence or made up confidence. Made up confidence would be, let's say, fake it till you make it. Just be a bullshitter. But I guess that's a very particular kind. But I also think that the true confidence, for me, confidence comes from certainty, and certainty comes from experience, from knowledge. From knowing what the outcome's going to look like, whether that's because you've been there before or because someone can mentor you through to that outcome. But you are a coach and confidence expert, I guess. So talk to me about how you see it. Are my theories correct?
Yes, and I'll add to them. So what everyone needs to know is because people think, oh, it's not in me. Like I'm just not that person. I've never been that way. You were born that way, that kind of thing. Confidence is not an anchored quality within you. Confidence is literally just the sum of the thoughts you think and the actions you take. You can change your thoughts. You can change your actions. Confidence is at everyone's disposal. My most extreme example would be someone I know who literally was crippled with shyness their whole life, like literally since they were a kid. By the time they started to become an adult, their parents hired a psychological social coach to go and help them, like, just talk to people. Excuse me. They are now the most outgoing person. You would never, ever know they were shy. When they tell people they're shy, people don't believe them. You can do it. It takes work. Even if you're at the lowest rung, most people are not at rock bottom. Most people don't need a social coach. Most people just need to really examine the thoughts they think and the actions they take. So the other thing too is that this is not inherent. This is not wallowing in self-pity and despair, doubting oneself, having low self-esteem issues and worth is not a part of who you are as a human being. And I want to share why. So as humans, we have been evolving for 2.5 million years. Okay. So as hunter-gatherers like you and me were communicating like you and I 100,000 years ago. I know some people think it's a lot sooner than that. No, it's not. I mean, modern humans lived that long. We didn't really settle down and start farming and like stop doing this wandering until about 10,000 years ago. Okay. So that's just sort of our timeline. We have the same DNA genetic makeup as the guy 50,000 years ago. And I bring this up to say that confidence is an inherent ancestral quality within you. You were born with it. You might have been born and then your mom beat you right away. That'll knock you down. Maybe you're born with confidence. You went to school and a teacher abused you and told you were crap. Okay, so you might get hits along the life. But that's why when we see kids who aren't beaten right out of the womb, who are like, no, give me that, right? Everyone's just owning it. They're like, all the kids, that's, I mean, it's inherent with them. And then we have to teach them, no, that's Sally's toy. You can't just take everything for yourself. It's pretty bold. It's kind of like little bullies running around. Mine, mine, mine. But think about it this way. Our hunter-gatherer ancestors had major selection pressures. We don't have to worry about food, water, shelter, right? So they were dealing with this every day, okay? Not only did they not have probably the time to wallow in self-pity and despair, it would have been a recipe for death. They had to move onward. My favorite thing from looking at hunter-gatherer ancestors is that they saw failure as feedback. That's it. Can you imagine 2 hunter-gatherers? They just finished a hunt and it didn't work out. Maybe they didn't catch the beast. Can you imagine one of them sitting with the other guy going, I don't know, Joe. Like, do you think I should be a hunter? Like, I've missed the past 3. It's not going to happen. What they're doing right there is what happened. Let's devise a new plan, onward and upward. We need to go back to that mindset. Now, we don't need to go back to their human rights mindset. I don't want to live back then. I would have certainly been abused and dragged into a cave or who knows what, right? But we need to adopt their fortitude, their strength, and their level of confidence. Imagine.
Why have we lost it? I mean, is it?
I'll tell you exactly why we lost it.
Society?
Yeah, this goes right into evolutionary psychology. So back then, we had small, knit tribes. Your contribution was important. The success of the group was important. Therefore, you also would not self-sabotage and do these modern garbage things we do because it would be detrimental to the group. And also, you wouldn't feel the need to do it because you'd feel support. Think about it. Even back then in a tribe, they would be able to sense like your facial expressions. We're all like separated from each other. They would be able to know. What's wrong? Something's wrong with her. Ooh, is she sick? Is that why she's drowsing off? Is she tired? Is she ill? Is she upset? She's crying, right? You have like immediate support. They're going to come direct. It's a tight-knit tribe. But nowadays, because we don't have that and we're more separated, there are more likely like the tendencies to, get inward are more likely. So a support, a tribe, a coach, a friend, an online anonymous group, I don't care. You need a tribe. And that's sort of one of the most important things we can take from our ancestral, heritage. But imagine 2 people by the water hole. The water's tainted. Joe just died. They're not going to sit around and cry for a week. They're like, let's get up and get out of here. We got a dead body. Animals are coming. It's not to say that wasn't maybe a little cold-hearted. Everything they saw was feedback. Failure was not a judgment on them. So that's what you need to go forward with in this. Like every failure you've had, you could beat yourself up. You could wallow in self-pity and remind yourself, your hunter-gatherer ancestors, it's not in your DNA to do that. Because we would have never survived as a species had that been part of our world. We would have just given up and then all died when things got tough. You know what I'm saying? And I hope that makes sense because we really do have to look back. We are no different brain, body than someone living 50,000 years ago, hunter-gathering in a tribe.
So the word nonversation, is it nonversation or non-conversation?
A nonversation.
Which I know you take credit for inventing. Just tell us a little bit about what that means.
In my book, Confident as Fuck, I go through sort of like all the barnacles you got to scrape off of your life and sort of figure out to gain that self-confidence and sense of worth. So nonversations are conversations that go nowhere. They're had all the time. I'll give you the perfect example. A Facebook post, right? Some politically charged something and someone responds and then everyone's getting into it. Okay. The reason that's a nonversation is it's a conversation that goes nowhere, but it only ignites the cortisol, adrenaline, and bad hormones in both parties. And here's why it's a nonversation. I would like to challenge everyone here. Have you ever made a comment to someone that disagreed with you in this way and somehow it worked and it changed their fucking mind? No, you haven't. It doesn't change mine. So what are you doing? You're getting on Facebook, or you're entering into the argument with the person you know in your family who has opposing political views. And you do it so that you can be like, you're fucking wrong. I think your viewpoint's stupid. You're not actually engaging to have a philosophical debate or be open to changing your mind. You're not. So stop it. Stop having conversations. It's really insane. And so, and this goes for anything. I used to have I had a family member who was very illogical. They would just kind of connect 2 points. It'd be ridiculous. And I would call them out on it for years. I'd be like, that doesn't make any sense. But they're illogical. So what do you think the reaction was? And then it would just blow up into something. After a while, I realized my sanity was more important. It's a nonversation. Don't have them. It riles up the blood pressure. It's only hurting me and my, cortisol, adrenaline being run through my veins because I'm stressed. So now it's just like when that happens with that person, I just go, I never thought about that. Interesting. Let it go. So I was around my parents who are 78, and these women, a lot of them were involved in these contentious Facebook things they were talking about. And I had just published my book, and I said, you guys have to stop having these conversations. This is like an 8th grade, round and round and round we go. You know, you are not out of integrity. You are not trying to have an honest discussion. You're trying to berate the person. If you're coming from the other place of like an honest philosophical debate, wonderful. I love those, right? But usually you're not. So stop having conversations is a way you can get negativity, ditch bad vibes, and get that kind of attitude out of your life so that you can clear it up for the positive stuff. So are you starting? How many conversations are you igniting? I used to do this with a friend of mine who had opposing political views until I realized that we were both never, ever going to change our mind. So all the talk was just, you're dumb, you're wrong, whatever that vibe is, and it goes nowhere. So stop having conversations, and that'll make your life a lot better. And it's taking the high road.
And you've mentioned women, females a couple of times in that space. Is that your typical audience? Did you write for your own avatar effectively, and that's where your audience has grown from?
Yes and no. Because I started off in the paleo, primal, ancestral space, I hosted Mark Sisson's Primal Blueprint podcast for many years. If you're not aware of who he is, he started Primal Kitchen and the Primal Blueprint, and he's a famous celebrity like health person. So I initially started with him, and he had a very heavily male audience. So I do have a lot of males, but because thyroid is actually disproportionately affects women, most of my audience is women, in terms of my clients and things like that. However, I do get male thyroid clients. They're just often overlooked, but it's majority female. Yeah. However, with my book, I feel like it's half and half, male and female. The second book, Confident as F, I have definitely had 50-50 male and female readers on that one.
And in terms of being affected by thyroid, in terms of obviously the disability of your hands. I mean, talk to me a bit about, let's say, the shame of disability, and people. I guess how that affects people and what they can do about it.
So shame disables confidence. And you might think, I don't have anything I'm ashamed about. And I would say, well, just look a little deeper, because it could be something you think is dumb. Maybe you're embarrassed about an unsightly mole on your back. Now, I know that seems simple, but to someone that could really, instill fear in them. So I had so much shame about my disability because I'm an alpha female. I didn't want to appear weak. I didn't want to be judged by it. The other thing too is when you express to someone that is not a psychologist or someone who knows what they're talking about, and you're like, oh, I feel ashamed, I'm embarrassed to have this thing or whatever it is. This is what people say to you, and I'm warning everyone against doing this. They'll be like, oh, I don't know why you're ashamed. You shouldn't be. It's not your fault you got injured. No one cares. And that just drives the shame further because they're telling you you're stupid for even feeling shame about it. So it doesn't matter if you killed 5 people in a drunk driving accident 10 years ago, you served your time and you're still ashamed about it, or you have unsightly moles on your back or a disability. It doesn't really matter. Whatever your level is, you got to get flat with it. Doesn't mean you have to do a course. You don't have to do a Facebook Live, but even get good with it, even if it's just having no shame about your shame silently. Maybe you take it to the grave, maybe you do. That's okay. But you got to get good with it somewhere. It tripped up 20 years of my life. The way it affected me was romantic relationships. I'm confident everywhere else in my life, and I'm even somewhat confident in romantic relationships, but here's where I wasn't. I was too ashamed and afraid to tell the person I was dating. It would be like, when am I going to tell them about my arms? Because see, you can't see it. I'm mobile. I can play a game of ping pong with you. No one knows. So in a way, it was worse because I was like hiding this secret thing that then only I would need to share. The truth is, no one did really care. So people were right. The other side of it is that, I mean, it was the key to unlocking me eventually getting engaged at the age of 50. I spent about 20 years being so riddled with shame. I can list all my ex-boyfriends who literally to this day have no clue that I even have a hand problem. Like, that's crazy. And what was I looking for then in relationships? Someone who was emotionally available to connect with, and who was the robot right here. So what are you complaining about that's going on with someone else and is a little bit reflective of you? Because at that time, my coach pointed out to me, I was like, I really want to find someone who's emotional. He said, you're not emotionally available. You got all this shame and you're all tripped up about your arms. Like, how are you supposed to connect to someone? You're going to continually run into unemotionally available people if you don't open up about this. I had to come out about my disability in a way because I had only select close group, friends over the years who knew about it. And then, of course, I wrote a chapter in a book. I could barely talk about it before, Matt. I would sob crying. I couldn't even get a sentence into this conversation years ago. And so it may seem dumb to you or dumb to your friends, but it's not if you have shame, because it is holding you back somewhere. Now, for other people, it holds them back in their career or whatever other areas. For me, it was the romantic relationship part. Somewhat feeling a sense of worthlessness, maybe not worthy, or worried someone would reject me. Right. And then I just had to be bold and be like, well, no one would reject me who would truly love me for this. So you have to take the shot. You may get rejected, you may not, but in order to get the person that you need, you got to be authentic.
And let's move confidence over to financial success. I mean, you often talk about ancestral confidence leading to financial success as well. I mean, is there let's say a direct path there, or it's just that that confidence ultimately makes you strong at what you do, which ultimately leads to the money tree?
True, it does. I mean, if you look up anything within psychology, confident people are the happiest and they're usually the most successful. Why? Because they're taking risks. They have no fear about what people will think. My life is never hurts to ask. I mean, like literally, I wish people would just adopt that. Never hurts to ask has gotten me so far. Happiness and confidence go hand in hand. Why? You have boundaries. When you're confident, you're authentic. When you're confident, you believe in other people. You're happy for other people. You're not a competitive, right? Your characteristics, you're out of integrity. People think confidence is the boisterous, loud, demanding, overbearing person. That's an element of confidence. That's a person who's just using confidence to be a bully. And those people aren't really confident. They are...
well, it could also be argued as insecurity masters confidence, no?
That's right. That's right. And also, you could be really confident, like you spoke at the beginning. You can get on a stage of 50,000 people and talk to everyone and appear confident. But I have met people who've got off that stage the most weak, insecure people pleaser you've ever met in your life. Having outward confidence does not denote inward. Do not be fooled by someone's profession. Right. So a perfect example I use in my book is there's this client. He's like 6'2", good looking, fit. He's a anesthesiologist, really got to be real confident. You're putting people out to sleep for surgery. Like, you better wake them up. So it's got to be really confident. And he's a spear fisherman, super confident, crazy, harrowing sport. But the guy cannot even have a conversation with his girlfriend or a neighbor because he's too much of a people pleaser and he's too scared of what everyone thinks. Now, on the outside, you look at this guy and you go, he's confident. Just because someone is in a confident profession or represents themselves in a certain way, or even speaks like I do, doesn't mean they have it on the inside. On the other note, some of the most confident motherfuckers I know are the quietest people in the room, and I want everyone to hear that. One of my best friends is this guy. You might see him at a party alone in a corner and feel bad for him, going, oh, that guy's alone in the corner. Don't feel bad for him. He's enjoying his time. He's walking in a room. He's just people watching and enjoying himself. I want everyone to feel that way. That's what true confidence is. Walking into a place alone, not caring if you impress anyone, if anyone talks to you, how you look, who cares what people think. You're there to check out other people, learn something. Going in with an open mind versus walking in there going, oh my God, what is everyone saying? this is a real harsh quote that I'm going to throw out there. Okay. And I know people take a little bit offense to this quote by this guy named Andre Dubus. And he said, shyness has a strange element of narcissism to it. The idea that what you do, think, and like that people care about it. People don't care. They don't care. And I think that that's a big hindrance with people struggling with confidence. They really feel it's always about, well, what will people think? I want to write a book, and it's not about how to write the book. But when I release it, what will people think of me doing this? It always goes to that end, and the end is always, what will people think? And I know we've heard it, what people think of you are none of your business, but it really isn't. What you think of you is the most important part in this whole game. And you can generate that from within. By the way, no one will give you confidence. It has to be generated from within.
Well, I guess that's a perfect time to ask my wrap up question, then, which would be, if for anyone watching, anyone listening, just to take away 2 or 3 top tips to give them, unbreakable, unshakable confidence. Whether you're a mom struggling with your kids, whether you're a husband struggling with your wife, or whether you're a business person struggling to get up the ladder. What 2 or 3 tips are applicable across everything for people to, put down this podcast and go out there and kick ass?
First of all, I would really look at the conversations you're having. How many negative embroilings are you getting into? Because again, you just want to get rid of as much toxic energy as possible. I'm giving you permission to not even speak up yet. It's like when we do health, like, why don't you just clean out the bad seed oils in the cupboard first? Let's not change everything. So on this one, it's look at the downers you're dealing with. Are you hanging out with downers? Stop telling downer people your dreams. Your sister Mary ain't ever going to get on fucking board with you. She's not. So don't try to be like, oh, Mary, I'm going to do this new business project. She's going to go, you've never started a business. Stop talking to Mary. Stop sharing your dreams and goals with downers. Look for the toxic people in your life. Eliminate or reduce, contact. Maybe you don't answer the phone, right? Maybe you don't need to tell Mary what's going on in your life until the book's published. I guarantee you she's still going to be a downer when the book's published, right? These are the things we keep. The thing with your sister Mary, the thing that we're constantly trying to get, like, oh, look, like, encourage and support me. If you've got people that aren't, you're the insane person that keeps going back thinking that they're going to change. Mary is your sister that has never supported you. She's not going to get on board now. And even when you do publish it and it's a bestseller, she'll find another thing to be a downer about. So protect yourself from that. Protect yourself from people chiseling away at your confidence. Talking to those kind of people about your dreams is a big, big thing, because you're going to get a hit. I don't care if I get a hit, Matt. If you today said, good luck with your 3rd book, I think you're a horrible writer, I'd be like, I don't care. Right? But if you're not me, that might send you into never writing another thing again. Right? You tell your sister Mary and she goes, you're not a writer. I saw something you wrote in high school. That might just dampen your dreams. So don't allow other people to chump up on your confidence. And I would say downers, toxic people, Nonversations is the place to start. And then the other place is, look, I've got a free confidence ebook and workbook, a wonderful, super low cost confidence masterclass with like a 2-hour video. There are resources on my website, elleruss.com, to get some free confidence advice, or just listen to free interviews of me online talking about confidence. So but I would start there, because it's cleaning out the what's coming in and punching at your confidence first order of business, if that makes sense.
Perfect, absolutely. Well, I was going to ask you to give yourself a shout out and tell us where we could find you for more things, but I think you've just said that, which is elleruss.com.
Yep, ELLERUSS.com. You can go to free stuff, courses and masterclasses, or listen to my podcast. And I know I'm going to have you on, I think, at some point. So yeah, and just thanks for having me. I just want to inspire everyone that you can do this. I have seen 180s, and it's really wonderful because confidence compounds on itself like interest. You speak up once on a small thing, ooh, makes you feel like, yeah, I fucking did it. Then you go to the next one. Then you go, right? Then you can be like me, where almost no situation will shock you or put you in a state of freezing. You will be able to speak up, but it's baby steps. And it might even start with returning the steak that was cooked wrong at the restaurant, like something small, but it builds on itself. So you have to start somewhere.
Perfect. Well, listen, Elle, it's been an absolute pleasure listening to you and talking to you. I look forward to coming on your podcast, like you say, too. For anyone watching and listening, have a look down in the show notes. If you didn't catch Elle's links, etc., they're all going to be down there. And like she said, you can log on and get some free resources, get in touch, and start building that confidence up. So, Elle, thanks a lot again for being here, and everyone, thanks a lot for watching and listening.
Thanks.
Hey, Matt here, just interrupting myself quickly to say thank you for listening to No Bollocks. But did you also know I've got another podcast, Stripping Off with Matt Haycox? Very different. No Bollocks is the quick daily business tactics that you need. But Stripping Off, we just do it once a week. We go deep, deep, deep with a CEO, with a celebrity, with an athlete, with just an international inspiring character. We find out what makes them tick. We find out how they got to where they got to.